How's it, Grant here, and welcome to my camera comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 and Galaxy S21 Ultra. The S21 Ultra has the Snapdragon processor. I get that question a lot. And while on paper, the S21 Ultra should probably run away with this camera comparison with its 108 megapixel main sensor and 10 times periscope zoom lens. I think you'll find that the Z Fold 3 cameras are quite capable, and personally I find them quite comparable to the S21 Ultra in every way except for that long range zoom. But instead of me telling you all about it, I'm going to show you. So take a look at all the photos and videos in both good and low light conditions, so you can see for yourself if the Z Fold 3 is going to be good enough to meet your needs and how comparable it really is to the S21 Ultra to your own eyes. So let's go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think.
That time I got that heat, let's go.
Alright, so here we go, recording video with the Galaxy S21 Ultra, as you can see there with the Galaxy Z Fold 3. As you can see, they are both actively recording right now. So this is being recorded at 4K 30 frames per second. Again, starting with the ultra wide angle cameras here. I'll just pan around so you can get a feel for how these cameras compare, and I'm pretty sure that the Z Fold 3 has a wider field of view here. It fits more in the frame than the Ultra's ultra wide. And we'll go ahead and pan and move into the main lens here. So there's the main lens on the Z Fold 3 and main lens here on the S21 Ultra. So I'll pan around to give you a feel for what these main lenses look like and how they compare. And you can see from the sky, if I pan down, let's check the exposure. Yeah, it doesn't really overexpose the sky too badly at all on either. So good job there. You can see how the shadows look in the trees, all looking pretty good here. And we'll pan over here to the right and we'll test zoom on the tower like I always do. So this is 2 times on the Z Fold. Actually, let's go to 3 times optical on the S21 Ultra, and I'll pinch into about 3 times there on the Z Fold 3 to match. And we can go to a 10 times digital on the Z Fold 3, and we can go to a 10 times optical on the S21 Ultra. And then the 10 times digital is the max on the Fold. We go to a max 20 times digital now on the S21 Ultra. So those are the max zooms on each. And we can move out to 1 times on each here. And we'll test autofocus on the post first with the Z Fold. So there we go. Focus is up and away. Let's get some focus in here and away, and 1 more time. So pretty snappy autofocus from the Z Fold 3 and now with the S21 Ultra. And away, and let's try to get it to focus up. There we go. And away, and 1 more time. And a little bit slower autofocus. I could have sworn it was a little snappier than that. I think it could just be the shade and the lighting throwing it off a little bit, but that is the autofocus on each. And let's go ahead and walk down the stairs. We'll test stabilization here at 4K on both these devices. Walking through the path, and I'll keep walking here for a little bit extended stabilization test. And we'll pull up here and we'll pan around to see how it handles that afternoon light.
Downtown, I got that heat, let's go.
Hey everyone, so I'm doing a front-facing camera test with the S21 Ultra, as you can see, and the Z Fold 3 on the right, and they are both actively recording from the front-facing camera here. This is being shot at 4K 30 frames per second on each. They both can record at the 60 frames per second on the front-facing camera, but since this camera comparison is going out at 30 frames, I want to keep the frame rate even here. And so obviously I'm outdoors in my usual testing spot in some shade without all the harsh light, so you can get a feel for what these cameras can produce in some fairly good lighting conditions. And so they're producing probably the best possible image quality here without all that harsh afternoon light. And so actually, if I step forward a little bit, you'll start to see more of that light creep in, and you can kind of see how that starts to affect some of the image quality here. But I'll go ahead and start panning around so you can see how the image quality is affected by the afternoon light as it changes. So you can see there the sunlight's right behind me right now, and Samsung's been doing a very good job of keeping the images exposed properly and evenly. Usually a lot of phones will be blowing out that background. Most phones will try to focus and expose for you, the subject, and it tends to blow out the background when there's some bright light like that. But as you can see, Samsung does a pretty good job of controlling all that on their phones, even on their front-facing cameras nowadays. And I'll keep rotating around so you can see what that looks like as we come back this way. And I'll start walking to test stabilization as well to give you a feel for what that looks like here on these front-facing cameras. So let me know what you think about the front-facing camera on the Z Fold 3 and S21 Ultra. Everyone, so here's a mirror-facing video with the Galaxy S21 Ultra and the Z Fold 3. This is the ultra-wide-angle lens at 4K 30 frames per second. So as you can see, the Z Fold 3 has a slightly wider field of view. It can fit more in the frame than the S21 Ultra can. So I'm just going to pan around, give a feel for what this looks like. You can see the two bright lights, the street light over there, which is actually pretty well controlled by the ultra-wide-angle lenses here. It's not flaring out too much, and the moon up in the sky over there. So let's go ahead and move into the main lens on each. So that's the S21 Ultra, and now with the Z Fold. And so everything just brightened up because this main lens lets in more light than the ultra wide, obviously. So I'll just pan around here with this main lens so you get a feel for the differences. And because it lets in more light, you can see it's flaring out that street light now more than the ultra wide angle did. And just for fun, let's go ahead and try to test zoom there on the moon. So that's 3 times optical on the S21 Ultra. And let's see, that is 3 times on the Z Fold. We go to 10 times optical on the S21 Ultra, and let's go to max 10 times on the Z Fold digitally, and I think we go to 20 times there on the S21 Ultra. And let's go ahead and back out of this on both phones here. And let's go ahead and pan this way and start walking to test stabilization. So obviously that was a very well lit area, and we're going to be walking over to a much darker area just to see how they handle in different lighting conditions here. Also, pay attention to the stabilization here. In low light, I like to point out that it gets more jittery, so just pay attention to that. Usually that's what typically happens on most phones. And this is a much darker area, and from what I can see in the viewfinder, both phones are definitely brightening this up a lot more than what it actually is. You can see the walkway lamps there, and if I pan up into the night sky, there is some light pollution here, like I always say, but these are trying to brighten things up, so you can see some noise and graininess in that sky as a result of that. When I pan this way to some mixed lighting situation down this darker alleyway with some light, you can see what this looks like here. Still picking up some noise because it's trying to brighten that up a bit. But there you go, there's 4K on the Z Fold 3 and S21 Ultra. So here's some video from the front-facing cameras on the Galaxy Z Fold 3 and S21 Ultra. This is being shot at 4K 30 frames per second. They both can shoot up to 60 frames per second, but this overall video is going to be exported in 30 frames, so just keeping the frame rate consistent. And so this is my usual testing spot, and obviously it's a pretty good lighting situation here, so you can see what these front-facing cameras can do in some fairly optimal light in this particular low light situation. As you can see, the lights to the left, to the right, and to the back of me, those really bright street lights there, so you can see how the front-facing cameras are handling those really bright lights. And we'll start walking to test stabilization as well, and also so we can move over to a more difficult lighting situation to see how these front-facing cameras handle a little bit of a darker area. So I'll be walking over here. There'll be a fountain to my left, so we can also test out the microphones and how it cancels out that background noise against the sound of my voice here. And I'll go ahead and pan around so you can really see some bright street lights behind me right there. So you can see how those front-facing cameras are handling that, and they are flaring them out a bit, which is pretty much expected. Those are some really bright lights there. But let's go ahead and move over back into this darker area so we can see what that looks like here side by side in this darker area. And both of these cameras are doing a very good job of actually brightening things up without introducing too much noise. It's a lot brighter than what it actually is with my own eyes right now. But either way, do let me know what you thought of all the photos and videos between the Galaxy Z Fold 3 and S21 Ultra. Personally, I'm pretty pleasantly surprised at the Z Fold 3 and its performance. I thought it kept up with the S21 Ultra very well for both photos and videos in both good and low light conditions. I think it just fell apart in zoom, which is expected because the S21 Ultra has that periscope zoom lens, and that really wasn't going to be a contest anyway. But excluding long range zoom, I thought the Z Fold 3 kept up very well with the S21 Ultra. But that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. If you have any other questions or comments about either of these devices, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.